I think he
Oh,
starts. So he starts
I
the
do.
intro.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Happy Monday. And again, welcome, welcome, welcome. We want to say thank you for joining us tonight as we close out Black History Month here at Tidewater Community College. I'm Vincent Gary. I work at the Chesapeake Student Center, and I'm honored tonight to introduce my good friends Corey and Laquita from Atumpan Edutainment, excuse me. They're here tonight to share with us the ability or how we can create community with storytelling. They're going to have an interactive experience, and I'm so excited to hear from them and to see my good friends again. So without further ado, I turn it over to Corey and Laquita from Atumpan.
Hello,
Hello,
thank
thank
you, and
you.
welcome.
I'm Corey, the talented blind guy.
I'm his wife, Laquita Marie.
Together, we are
Atumpan
of Atumpan Edutainment. And we're here to take you on a story adventure today as we talk about how you can build community through storytelling. We're going to tell a classic folk tale that comes from the West African culture and talk about how we can create shared power. We can also create social justice and equity. We can also use
environmental justice too.
Use our storytelling to create environmental justice, as well as to show you how to amp up your storytelling so that you can reach the masses, all in one 45-minute package. So should we get started?
I say we get started.
Now, Laquita Marie,
I mean, I think we already started, but I'll give you some music.
Now, Laquita Marie, I've been married to you over long periods of time. So what story should we tell them tonight?
Hey, Ojola and the Snake.
Ojola and the Snake.
And of course, we got a bunch of college students, university folks. And so why not use our presentation?
All right. Now, what are we talking about?
They're used to slideshows.
Right. The griots of Africa, they were perfect at building community through storytelling. They shared stories that brought people together. They shared stories and they allowed people to add to the narrative.
Speak up, Corey, because I'm playing the bala. And just so that you guys know, this is an instrument where it's sort of like a wooden xylophone, and but it's this melodic. I'll give you a sneak peek so that you can understand why I was interrupting Corey with the music. So you guys are going to get a view in here, just like that. So I'll keep playing, and this is a bala or a balaphone. So I'll calm it down. Corey will speak up. You guys will hear everything. You can continue with shared power, Corey.
The griots of West Africa used their stories to build shared power in the community. That meant everyone had an opportunity to add to the story, and they were able to take those stories and to teach cultural norms and values as they moved through their life, and to build the community and shape the community to the way it is today.
And of course, people do resonate with characters and experiences. Stories do allow others to add to the narrative, and stories can be changed. So the griot or the storyteller would share the power with the audience in this way.
So I'm going to tell you a story that comes from the griots of West Africa. It's a story of how we should celebrate the differences that make us who we are, because that's what gives the world its flavor. However, sometimes we allow our differences to separate us, as it did in the story of Ojola, the snake, and the farmer. You see, long ago, there was a time when a farmer reached the end of the harvest. The harvest moon was high and winter was setting in. So the harvest crops were brought in and people began to celebrate. The farmer was in his barn, putting away his harvest tools, when suddenly a great commotion took place. When he looked out of his door, he saw farmers with their weapons and tools, as if they were hunting for something, but he didn't know what. But as soon as they went by, he opened his barn door, and down dropped the largest rock python he had ever seen. The snake crawled into the barn and said, "Please help me, hide me from the other farmers. They are trying to kill me." The farmer reached for his axe. Of course they're trying to kill you. You hide in our gardens when you build your snakes and scare our women and children when they come to gather fruits and vegetables. You eat our calves, our goats, and our chickens. So they are trying to kill you because you're always trying to kill something else. I will hide you, all right. I'm going to remove your hide so that I can make myself a new pair of boots. Wait, Ojola hissed. I am Ojola, and I mean you no harm. But why do you want to kill me just because I have to do what I need to do in order to survive? No one tries to kill you when you cut down a tree to build your barn, or when you cut the grass to make a crop, or when you put rocks into the river to stop it from flowing. Why am I any different? The farmer looked at Ojola and said, you are different because we use our hands and arms to build our homes and to make our way in life. You practice stealing as your way of life. Yes, that is true, Ojola hissed. But I have no arms and hands to do the work that you do I? So I must do what snakes do to survive. The farmer looked at Ojola and considered the snake's words and allowed him to hide in a bale of hay at the back of the barn. As soon as the commotion outside from the other farmers settled down, the farmer lifted the bale of hay and said, okay, Ojola, out you come. It is safe for you to return to your home. The farmer opened the barn door to let Ojola out, but Ojola did not go out. Ojola began to wrap himself around the farmer and looked him in the eyes and said, thank you, my friend, for all your help. But I, Ojola, a great snake, I am hungry, and I must do what snakes do when we want to eat. I must eat you. The farmer looked at Ojola and said, now, Ojola, you promised that I promised I would never eat your chickens, your calves, or your goats ever again. But you, sir, you are not a chicken, you are not a calf, and you are not a goat. Therefore, you are fair game. So therefore, I must eat you. The farmer looked at Ojola and said, now, Ojola, when two beings can't agree on something, they must go before someone else to have their story heard so that they can decide who's right and who's wrong. Ojola considered the farmer's words and said, yes, that is true, but we will not take our story before another man because surely he will agree with you. Let us go before the forces of nature. Let us go before the trees, the grass, the rivers, and the wind, and let them judge. Now, the griot's stories, they often taught lessons of social equity, environmental justice. And in this story, they tell stories that teach about proper land usage and how to interact with the animals in nature in their ecosystems so that all beings could be respected for what they bring to the earth's table.
So we're talking about the griots, of course, the storytellers of the people. And yes, they do often use those inanimate objects so that way they can preserve the social image of the community. They can, this way they can span the ages from little people, younger people that should know better, but they're still learning, to those older people that
should know better and they're still learning.
Yeah, truth be told, right? And also, of course, this is to teach the community's cultural norms. And so this is the way the griots would interact with the people in their community so that they could teach this social equity. So with this story, Ojola and the farmer, we're using that as an example to do just that. Did you want to move on to environmental justice, or you want to tell more of the story?
So the griots of Africa told
stories.
It sang the praises of
royalty
to teach people
their history
and their
culture.
And so far in this griot story, we have met a farmer who has encountered a rock python that can talk, who is trying to hide from other farmers who are trying to kill him for eating their chickens, their calves, and their goats. Ojola has promised the farmer that if he allows him to hide, then he will not eat his chickens, calves, and goats. But as soon as danger passed, Ojola went back on his word and began to call around the farmer and began to plan to eat the farmer. The farmer convinced Ojola to have their story heard by someone else to judge who was right and who was wrong. And Ojola has taken him before the trees, the grass, and the wind and river to have their story judged. So let's find out what the forces of nature have to say about Ojola and the farmer.
All right, let's move forward.
Now Ojola remained coiled about the farmer and led him out into the forest, where they told their story to the tree, the river, the wind, and the grass. The tree passed judgment first. My branches supply shade for man on hot days, and I bear fruit for him to eat. He thanks the heavens for me by saying, "Oh, shade, Baba,
Baba.
thank you, Father, for providing all that I have done." But when he wants to build a new barn or he needs a new axe handle, he will cut me down. Therefore, I will show this farmer no mercy. Oh, Jola, you may eat the farmer. What do you say, river? The river bubbled and boiled, and the river said, I provide water for man and his livestock. And he thanks the heavens for me by saying, "Oh, share, Baba.
Baba.
Thank you, Father, for providing all that you provide. But when the rainy seasons come, and I overflow my banks and into his fields, he curses me and throws boulders in me to stop me from running freely. Therefore, I will show this farmer no mercy. Oh, Jola, you may eat this farmer." What do you say, grass? The grasses of the land swayed and spoke. I provide good grazing grounds for man's goats and cattle and other livestock. And when they are fat and happy, he praises the heavens for me by saying, "Oh, Baba." But when he wants to plant a new crop, he becomes angry with me. He calls me weeds and say I'm nothing but weeds that are in his way, and he burns me to my roots. Therefore, I will show the farmer no mercy. Oh, Jola, you may eat this farmer. Now, when it comes to land and environmental justice, we have to remember that the griot stories taught people how to respect the ecosystem that they lived in, whether that was the animals that were in the wild, their domestic animals, or how the plants and the seasonal cycles work together so that they weren't over farming of one particular lot of land or growing one particular crop too often. And they taught them how to respect nature. If you take something from nature, you give back to nature. You thank nature for giving it to you.
Yes.
So the griot stories teach how to be a part of the ecosystem as humans interacting with all forms of nature.
Absolutely. Now, this, of course, includes, that's what you're describing right now is that sustainable stewardship of the land. So this is a way that you can use storytelling. This is the way that we're using it. The griots used it to teach sustainable stewardship and continue to use it. Yes, even in today's time, because the griots are alive and well as storytellers. Also teaching astronomy, such as lunar cycles and constellations. Did you want to explain anything about the Dogon people, or did you want to briefly explain how they've taught astronomy?
Now, the Dogon people of West Africa, they actually were credited for knowing about Sirius A and Sirius B, two stars that cannot be seen with the naked eye. And it's because of their greater understanding of the cosmos based on their cosmology, their religion. It is said that they are descendants of the Nomo, who were two extraterrestrial beings that came to Earth and filled Earth with water in certain parts and taught man how to live amongst the ecosystem that they found themselves in. But of course, the jackal was one of those wayward children wayward brothers or siblings of the Nomo and brought evil into the world. And because of the Nomo, the Dogon people were familiar with Sirius A and Sirius B long before telescopes were even invented. It had been part of their cultural belief, cultural norms for a long time. So the astrology and astronomy and the greater cosmos were being taught by the griots in their stories and continue to be taught in that way to this very day. So you can always research the Dogon people and their cosmology whenever you're looking up history and culture from the standpoint of the griots of West Africa.
Now, we're talking to university students. We're also talking to just everyday moms and dads. We're talking to professionals, people that have graduated, people that may be in elementary or middle school. So they could always start their research in several different places, of course. The library, the internet, Google, look up Sirius A, Sirius B, SIRIUS, if you want to learn about that astronomy, or you can just Google the Dogon people, DOGON. It looks like doggone, actually.
Right.
So yeah, Google the Dogon people to learn more about that. But we are talking right now about environmental justice and how we can teach community through storytelling. So we're almost done with this particular story of Ojola and the farmer. So do we continue from here? Where do you want to go?
Now, the griots of West Africa
They told stories.
and sang the praises of
Royalty, kings, queens, chiefs.
To teach people their history
and their culture.
And we talked about how they created shared power through their stories, allowing people to add to the story and change the narrative and help the story to evolve over time so they could continue to teach the cultural norms of the people. And in this story so far, we've learned that Ojola is a great rock python who has tricked a farmer into hiding him from hunters who were trying to destroy the great snake for stealing their chickens, calves, and goats. He made a promise to the farmer that he would never eat his chickens, calves, or goats, but we found out that Ojola actually lied and then prepared to eat the farmer because the farmer was not a chicken, a calf, or a goat.
So are we at the social equity part? Because this whole story, we're using animals and we're using people. So this way, in this manner of storytelling, we could be talking about anyone. We could actually be talking about people in our community, people that we work with, we go to school with, we see in the grocery store.
Yeah, those great, those snakes, those snakes like Dallas Cowboy fans. I didn't say that out loud.
You know what? And the Super Bowl just passed. Your team wasn't there. The Cowboys weren't there. Let's get on with the story.
Trophy. Okay.
Same trophy. None.
So we talked, and so the griots, we know the griots also talked about social equity and environmental justice as well. But the griots were also great at building their stories through active listening, managing engagement, and packaging presentations.
So are we going to finish the story and then talk about how they can amp their story?
Right. We're going to talk about how they can amp their story because the wind is about to give a great example of active listening, managing engagement, and packaging a presentation.
I'll start again with the bala. Once again, it's sort of like a xylophone, but it's a wooden bala. So it's very melodic. It's pentatonic, actually, so not diatonic. Let's go for it.
The grass, the trees, the river all agreed that Ojola should be allowed to eat the farmer because the farmer, he did not take care of the environment or interact with nature as he should. He was cutting trees down to build homes. He was burning grass to plant new crops, and he was throwing boulders in the river to stop it from running and overrunning its banks and into his fields. But the wind heard a different tale between Ojola and the farmer. The wind began to blow and dance about as she spoke and said, all things have been created by the Heavenly Father to be who they are and what they are. So they must do what comes natural for them to do. We should not allow these differences between us, man or beast, to divide us. Instead, we should celebrate these differences because these differences give the world its flavor. To celebrate, the wind gave Ojola a drum. And to play the drum, Ojola crawled off of the farmer and began to create a great rhythm. The wind also gave the farmer a drum.
I'll switch over to my djembe.
And soon a great polyrhythm filled the air as the wind danced, the rivers bubbled, the grass swayed, and the trees bowed and rocked to the wind's music. All things have been created by the Heavenly Father to be who they are and what they are. And for that, we should say, oh, Shea, Baba. Thank you, Father, for making us different so that the world can have its flavor. Now, Ojola, since you are a snake and it is in your nature to eat a man, then go ahead and eat this farmer. Yes! Ojola hissed as he played his drum. The wind then blew and turned to the farmer and said, Farmer, since you are a man and it is not in your nature to be eaten by a snake, then don't be eaten. And when the farmer heard these words, he realized Ojola had let him go to play the drum. And the farmer took off running, yelling, "Oh, say, Baba!" Ojola watched the farmer run and raised his head and first cursed the wind. "Wind, you tricked me out of my meal. Now I must hunt him down again." And Ojola began to slither behind the farmer. As he did, the wind waved and said, "Oh, yes, Ojola, happy hunting, and I hope you like fast food." The snake slithered as quickly as he could behind the farmer, and into the dark barn they went, where all of a sudden there was a whack. The barn door creaked open. And who would come out? It was Ojola, the snake, being carried by the farmer. The farmer held up the great snake to the night sky and said, "Now I will use your hide to make myself a new pair of boots." Oh, shit!
Oh, shit.
Baba! Oh, shit! Baba! Remember, we're all different people. We're all different from the inanimate objects like the trees, the river, the wind, and the grass. We're all different from the snakes, the bees, the birds, the bears, all the animals around us. But we're all part of this great ecosystem. And as we tell each other stories, we can allow us to create that equity, that social justice, that environmental justice, that allows us to build stronger communities through the stories that we share. And it all starts with active listening. Like the wind. The wind heard the stories of the snake in the farm and realized that there was a deeper meaning to what was going on. That they did not understand that one was doing what they must do to survive. Like the farmer was cutting down the trees, stopping the river from running, burning down the grass to survive. Just as the farmer could not understand that Ojola the snake was doing what he had to do to survive. Because remember, Ojola had no arms or hands to build or to grow crops. He was not a human, he was a snake. And in that moment, the wind found a way to manage the engagement or the interaction between all those beings in the stories by bringing them together under one common sound, the sound of music. Because every culture has music. Every culture has a drum that's part of its music. And every culture uses music to bring and to each people together, to help them to unite around one common cause. Think about the national anthem. Think about some of your favorite songs that as soon as the music hits, you got 20 people running to the dance floor. Music brings people together. And so the wind used those things, that music, to actually bring people together or bring the beings together. And then she packaged a great presentation. As she danced and swayed about, she pronounced her judgment and had everyone convinced that both sides were right. They weren't wrong. They were just doing what came natural for them to do. So when you're presenting, it's important to you as storytellers, and it's important to us as storytellers to be active listeners. Now, what does that mean? What are some examples of some things that you can do to be an active listener?
Oh, of course, make eye contact or look in the direction of the person speaking. Of course, Corey cannot see, his eyes don't work, but as I'm speaking, he's looking in my direction, or at least turning in this direction to show that he's giving his attention to me. I'm the boss, y'all.
Also, repeating information back that's being presented to you, or asking questions, clarifying questions.
Yeah.
Those are some great ways to be a great active listener. When it comes to managing engagement, understand that people learn differently, have different learning styles when it comes to how they absorb information. That's why you will see that the griots of Africa use music as part of their storytelling. They'll use the bala, They use instruments like the ngoni, which is a string instrument that was the predecessor to the banjo, or the kora, which is like a harp or a lute, to help to tell their stories and engage the audience in the story through song and also through call and response audience participation.
So we do use audio visual aids in this type of presentation because right now we're virtual, right? So we do have our sound going. We had two different instruments, the bala and the djembe drum. So that's your audio aids. Of course, our voices. Your voice is your first instrument. So definitely use that as an aid. Use different inflections in your voice. And of course, we also can tap into the multiple intelligences. That's what we've been doing this whole time. Using interpersonal learning, using music, using physical learning. So definitely using your personal learning, because we only have ourselves, right? Some of us are in a group, some of us are single. So we use those, and we also are providing the necessary information frequently. So that's why we're repeating parts of tonight's presentation, so that way we can manage the engagement. You can do the same in all of your presentations. And of course, as you package your presentations,
that's what you have to develop, take all these skills, active listening, the managing engagement, and put it into a presentation that fits your audience. Packaging your presentation means knowing your audience. Just like the griots of Africa, they know their audience because they're part of the community.
yes.
And they know how to package their information to reach the masses so that they can continue, again, to share that power, to keep the story moving forward, to teach cultural norms. They're actually able to teach social equity through their stories without embarrassing anyone publicly. They could teach people about land and environmental justice by sharing stories about inanimate objects and animals and humans interacting with those inanimate objects and animals in different ecosystems. So the storytelling is packaging those presentations in a storytelling style is what helps people to really remember, because the characters resonate with people, the experience resonate with people, and then you create one community shared experience that can be taught for generations to come.
So we hope that we have recapped and summarized quite well with you guys, but it's time for a call to action. Of course, we are working within a time frame, so that's where we're going to get to our frequently asked questions. Now, there is a story in this presentation, so we do have it recorded, but one question people always ask us is, Corey totally blind? Yes, Corey is blind. His eyes don't work. And of course, this is our YouTube channel, Blind Guy, His Wife, Their Life, where, Corey is driving. So basically on our YouTube channel, we kind of explain, we give you a little bit of insight into our life. So that way you all know what's happening, how it's happening, how do people with visual challenges manage. So we do have 3 children, they've got friends, and look, they're all in there helping us record. Somehow all of these parents are trusting Corey to drive. So yes.
And the police were out there watching all this unfold.
Yeah, and Corey could see. He was not always blind. He was blind until he was age 19.
19.
19, we were dating since 17. And so that's one question that people also always ask, but he did have his own car. That's why he's able to operate a little bit. I'm just telling him where to go. So another question that people often ask is, what else do we do? Like, is this the only thing that we do?
Well, Blind Guy, His Wife, Their Life Live is our weekly talk show broadcast.
It's on social media, Twitter,
social media,
Facebook, YouTube. YouTube is our main place. And 3 times a week, every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday,
at 11:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We let you into our life live as we change your narrative of normal when you think about your health,
your business,
and your wealth.
Yes. So, final question that they ask. Dun, dun, dun.
What do we like to eat?
What do we like to eat? Guys, we are plant-based, and so we actually don't eat anymore chicken. This is a chicken video actually that you are seeing. If you're watching the video right now, we do make our chicken because we still like chicken. I ain't gonna lie. So we still make our meat from vegetables. So all of that information, all of the answers to those questions, what do we eat, are on our YouTube channel.
On Blind Guy,
His Wife,
Their Life.
Yes.
Now, I will say, people want to know how I lost my sight. I'll tell you a very quick story. There I was at the Battle of Gettysburg with Vincent Gary and Snoop Dogg. No.
We are out of time. No, that is not what happened, guys. He got sick. He just got sick, and he started having blurred vision, tunnel vision, and as they were trying to save his eyesight, it was too late. And so thank you, guys. It's not too late, though, for you all to enjoy the rest of the night. It's not too late for you all to make sure that you amp up your story, to make sure that you share your story, to build community. So we thank you for your time this evening. We're going to turn it over to who, Corey? You, me, or Vincent?
We're going to turn this over to the illustrious Vincent Gary, our master of ceremonies this evening.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, awesome. The cowboy comments notwithstanding, and also you tried to date me with the Battle of Gettysburg, my brother. But I just want to say thank you both so much for that wonderful story tonight. That story was fabulous. I can't tell you how much I was entertained and I was enthused. I saw it visually. I was tapping my feet, dancing. So it was a great time. So thank you all again for joining us. Thank you, Corey, Laquita Marie. Thank you, Atumpan. It was a pleasure having you all. Thank you for coming out. We wish you all a wonderful evening. And again, check out Atumpan Edutainment on their website. Check out their live show on YouTube. It's super entertaining. I can tell you that. In the comment section is always live. So be sure to tune in and check them out. Thank you again. We wish you all a wonderful Monday night. Enjoy the rest of your week.